This is the There Is Another Way podcast from spencerbruce.com. Making life work as a creative. Hi there, boys and girls. Bruce here with this week's There Is Another Way podcast. How are you all doing out there? I hope you had an awesome week. And for those of you in the UK, I hope you had a fantastic bank holiday. Yes, we managed to get one day where it wasn't raining. It wasn't really sunny, but it wasn't raining, and I actually managed to have a barbecue. So that is actually one of my goals of the year, one of my many goals of the year ticked off. So happy days. Really busy week for me, including a mammoth gig on Saturday, which was a long drive away and then played for nearly 4 hours. That was pretty intense. And then really exciting, thanks to my partner Liz and her father for taking me out to record a Routemaster bus. So watch this space, because that is a project I'm working on, and all will become clear very soon. But it was great to go out there. If somewhat strange, I know I was getting a few strange looks with what I was doing there with the microphone and some of the things I was recording, but that's all part of the sound design process. So that was really exciting. Also been doing a whole bunch of composing and trying to get a few projects finished. Going back to a few podcasts ago, it's always the finishing that is the hard point. I went back and listened to that podcast because I'm guilty of some of the things I was talking about in terms of not getting things finished. Really considering why, what are the reasons why I'm not getting things finished. And I think sometimes, even for me, it boils down to the fact that you don't want to be judged. Whilst you're working on something, it's yours and no one else can see it, and you can keep it secret. But when you admit that it's finished, it goes out into the world, and all the nasty things and nasty words might come back at it, and meaning that I'm not getting things finished. It's always good to listen to your own words, so I'm back there and really trying to tick the boxes and finish off some of these products and get them out there into the world. In other news, something that I found, just heard today, just before I started recording the podcast, that Alf Clausen, who is, for those of you who don't know, he is the composer of The Simpsons. He has been composing for The Simpsons show since day one. He didn't compose the traditional theme, the theme that we all know, that was composed by Danny Elfman. But you've only got to look at Alf's track record of the number of Emmys he's won, the number of nominees he's got, the fact he's been working on this show for 27 years, it would seem, and he just got fired. He got fired with a phone message because of cost-cutting measures employed by The Simpsons. And you may remember a few years ago there was a big to-do with actors asking to be paid a little bit more. Remember that, this show is massive. This show is everyone knows The Simpsons. No matter where you go in the world, there is a version of The Simpsons. And Fox are, raking in cash from it, from the merchandising. And yes, some of these actors are getting paid a lot of money, but they are crucial to The Simpsons. Their voices are. And I guess after all this time, they're entitled to a little bit more of a share of the profit. And yeah, compared to what me and you get, it's insane. But I think in terms of relativity, they're entitled to it. And again, for the composer, the music of The Simpsons is not just the theme tune. If you are into your music and you listen to the scoring of The Simpsons, it's a cartoon which still uses a traditional orchestra and traditional cues within it, and it's amazing, and it's rare to have this happen in this day and age. So it's something we should be precious of. And of course, I'm now thinking myself, everything changes and we've got to be prepared for change. But in that environment, the outlay of the music compared to what it brings in, it's insane. And we're not talking here about anyone asking for any more money like the voice actors were doing. There was none of that. It was just, you're fired. We want to save money. You're fired. We're going to do things differently. And whether that's right or wrong is another matter. But what it goes to show, and what the important aspect I feel of it, particularly in relation to this podcast, is no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter how much you believe or others tell you, and I've said this before in relation to my own work, no matter how important you feel you are to a project and others are telling you, you could never be fired because you do this and that, you can be gone, and you can be gone the next day. And it's telling as well in this day and age that he was fired by a phone call. Not even the dignity to bring him into a room and tell him, it's, you know, this is it, you're fired, you're gone. 27 years, it's just gone. And you can scale that up and you can scale that down. And for those of you who are listening, who are in your jobs and you think you're safe and secure, please, 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 you probably are. But in the back of your mind, just have a little thought to all this could end tomorrow. It's happened to me 4 times in my life. You know, and I'm only 40. 4 times I've gone into work thinking, you know, this is great, everything's great. One time in particular, the company were just going on and on at how much money they had. They didn't need to save money. They had more money than countries. And you just got called into a meeting and, you know, within 10 minutes, you're gone. That's it. So just bear that in mind, because it can happen and you need to be prepared. And of course, there is another way. It's the main driving force of why I'm doing this, is because I don't believe in companies. I don't believe in all the bullshit that they tell you about what a valuable employee you are. Maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I've just heard it too many times. But, you know, that's my experience of life. Everywhere I've been told, you're great, you're fantastic. And I'm not bigging myself up here. It's just, you know, I've been told that. And sometimes you start to believe it a little bit. And then one day you're told, you know, we don't want you. And it's a real hard pill to swallow. So I'm now fighting back against that for myself, because the only person I let down now is me. And the only person who can fire me is me. And the only person who can call me into a room and tell me, you know, you're gone is me. So it's a very different environment. And I work and I fail at my own hand. And I'd rather do that than be lulled into a false sense of security, which I've been in far too many times, only to be told we don't want you anymore. And sadly, I feel that this way of working, this way of sacking people is going to become more and more common in this age. It's, you know, I'm sure it's going to happen. Someone will get, as it has happened in the past, you know, people have been dismissed via Twitter, you know, or via Facebook. Just, again, it's change, it's disruption, and we all get shocked, but I guess that's the way it's happened. So if it can happen to, you know, one of someone's whose name we've all seen on the credits of The Simpsons, then it could happen to any one of us. So it's just a word of warning, but I found it really symbolic of this podcast that it can happen to any of us. So I'm just going to go back and reflect a little bit on last week's controversial podcast, another one, 20 easy ways to make money online now. Now, I hope some of you were aware, it was done a little bit tongue-in-cheek. There was an irony to it. And I'll explain myself a bit more. The irony was that I was just doing what a lot of us buy into. We all buy into these clickbaity type articles, lessons, courses, whatever they are online. And yes, you can get things from them. Yes, there were 20 easy ways to make money online. But again, it all falls down to the definition of easy. Yes, they are easy. Yes, you can set up a blog in 10 minutes in WordPress, put some content out there, and over time generate a little bit of money. And you could do all of those 20 things, but none of them are really sustainable if you want to do everything. You really need to, and this is the idea, there's all these easy ways to make money. You know, if they were so easy, everyone would be doing them and everyone would be really successful at them. And then if you come to, and this is going to bring me on to today's topic, those who are successful, they're using the one easy way to make money online and really, really hammering it. Or the, you know, 1 or 2 ways. Because you can't do everything. And if you try to do everything, it's not going to work. You need to be really prolific in 1 or 2 of these methods. And you need to make that choice. And you can make money. But the other thing is, and this came up in a message on the group from Hal. Thanks, Hal. Just answering your question. Sorry, you've already heard the answer. And anyone who's read the post on the Facebook group, There Is Another Way podcast. may have seen this, but Hal asked me, what was my best month in terms of advertising. And now it seems on YouTube, I focus a lot on my YouTube channel because over time, and it has taken time, and I'm not, belittling it, it's taken years, and I still don't earn enough to live on. I certainly don't. I probably earn enough off of that to go out every once in a while and have a really, really nice meal. Or if I added it all together, probably, pay for a holiday or something. It's not a life-changing amount of money. I've still got to keep churning out videos. I've still got to keep going away at doing all the things I do. And again, part of the thing I'm doing is not necessarily making clickbaity type videos, because YouTube has cottoned on to that now. So if you actually put out clickbaity type headlines, they will not allow ad revenue on your videos. They've got an algorithm. I don't know how it works, but it certainly works. So I posted up the podcast from last week to see what happened. And yeah, it got banned from advertising because it was very clickbaity in nature. My best month on YouTube was last month. And that's because my growth has been exponential. I'm still growing. But the more content you put out there, the more people watch it, and then the more people channel through. I've also spent a lot of time learning what people want from me, as opposed to what I want to give to people. And it seems there are a few different things that people really zone in on my channel, and it motivates them to watch, and it motivates them to subscribe and like and comment. And again, I'm not necessarily doing this because I want to generate a lot of money. That's not my motivator. It's not my motivator for doing most things. Unfortunately, I'd probably be a lot more successful if it was. I just like sharing, and I like sharing information, and I like teaching. It's one of my jobs outside of this is teaching, and I love teaching, and I love inspiring, and I love helping people. So YouTube gives me a platform to do that. But as I've said before, I've noticed that teaching, I kind of followed the traditional pattern of putting out guitar lessons on how to play Hotel California and all that kind of stuff. But there's too many people out there doing it already. There's so many people doing it out there already that it's just noise. So I've tuned in to kind of like my core audience and figure out the things that and they start to ask me questions, and I answer their questions. How does this work? How does this bit of gear work? I'm playing on my experience, my past as an acoustics engineer. I've got a PhD in acoustics, so I know a little bit about sound and sound equipment and gear. So that's my niche there. And I do reviews, and they're really popular. And out of that has come this kind of third way that I'm doing, which aren't really guitar lessons. They're more kind of philosophical ideas about creativity and playing guitar and creating music, and also a combination of that and some really short quick tips, which aren't the usual kind of grand lessons, but they're just a little thing that you might not know about something that you can watch for a minute and go, oh, that was really useful. Which, you'll watch a video, a lot of people are doing something opposite. They're saying 10 things you need to know about XYZ, or here are things, and they're like half-hour videos, which is great, and some awesome information there. But at the same time, we live in a busy day and age, and I'm posting up these little nuggets which will take you 30 seconds to a minute to watch, and you'll learn a shortcut or a trick, particularly in Logic Pro, which is a music application I use exclusively all the time, and I've been using it since the beginning, which God knows, 25 years ago. And that's becoming quite popular because it's something different. And as we know in this podcast, if you've been listening, we're just trying to do something which is a little bit different. And it's only through persevering with this that I found out where I'm starting to sit. So it's a learning curve for me. I'm learning my own self. I'm learning what people like about what I do. But that's taken time. It's taken loads of mistakes. It's taken loads of effort and loads of energy. But it's starting to pay off. And on top of that, the payoff is coming where now I've had people sending me gear to review, which is a really great honour. It means that my profile is out there and people are appreciating, even in companies. And that has taken a lot of time. So going back to the podcast, and we've spent a lot of time in this podcast talking about the last podcast, there are ways of doing it, but you've got to kind of commit And it's not easy. The easy bit is you can set up a YouTube channel. You can set up a blog. You can set up an Etsy page. That is easy, and you can make a drip feed of money. But if you want to be successful at it, like anything in life, it is not easy. It's a hard slog. Which brings me on to today's topic, quite a long way in. And it's the concept of I can do that. Now, all the things I feel psychologically we like about clickbaity type adverts and stories we hear about our heroes, about business people, about musicians, about situations, is we always bring it back to the feeling that I can do that. I can do that. I can set up a YouTube channel. I can do that. I can make money. Or you hear a story about how the Rolling Stones met, or some band, Pink Floyd. Oh, they were in a club one day and they were at a bar and he bumped into it and they had a chat. I can do that. We set our aspirations, it feels, or we tend to buy into the concepts of the story when it relates to something that you can do. Now take a second to think of your area, your area of expertise, the area you want to go into, and the people have inspired you. And I'm guessing, and I put my money on it, it's something that they have done where in your mind, in your subconscious, you've gone, I can do that. I can set up an Etsy channel. I can do that. I can set up a blog. I can write a blog every day. I can do that. And that's where you get your buy-in. But the problem lies, and I am guilty of this too, especially when I watch loads of stuff on YouTube. And this is what has got me thinking about it. I look at my heroes and look at how they started. And there's always the elements when you go to their backstory. It's the origins, to use of film terms, the origin story. There's always elements of probably every stage of it where you go, I can do that. I can meet someone. I can buy a microphone. I can buy a camera. I can write an app. I can do that. And we tend to, I think, and I'm thinking through this process, and I've been thinking through it a lot this week when I decided this was what the topic would be, of how we buy into this concept, but how I think our brain switches off when it comes to the further part of that. We go, I can do that, and if I can do that, I can be them. I can buy this camera and I can take a picture and I can put it online. I can be successful. But we miss out a massive chunk in the middle. But at the same time, I think the essence of this message is embrace the idea that you can do that. You can do it. You can buy a camera. You can buy a microphone and a computer and make a recording. And the simpler the idea, the more we buy into it and the more we go off and try and follow that path. And then when you buy your microphone and you buy your computer and you record some sounds and you're not successful, it becomes circular, where you then go back and look for something where you go, I can do that. And this is how marketing works in a certain respect, particularly in terms of equipment. When we see our hero playing a certain guitar or a pedal or using a Canon camera or a Nikon camera, we go, I can buy that. I can be them. I can buy a car. I can be them. I can drive. I can be a racer. It's a fundamental essence of being, I think, where we just love the stories. We love these stories. That's why, biographies are so popular. The first bits of it where you're thinking about someone who's just rummage around on just like us. Because that's, I can do that. It's just like me. I've been to school. I met someone at school. We could start a band. I can be them. That's all they did. It's so simple. And yes, that is the other essence of this message, is it is so simple. It just requires a lot of work after the event. And I think, when we watch some of these documentaries and stories or read about it, and they go, oh, I was in a bar, or, I went to university and I bumped into this guy and then we formed this band and we were this successful. we go, oh yeah, I've been to university, I bumped into someone and we started a band, but it wasn't successful. Because I guess as an editor, you kind of would want to jump into these small nuggets of useful information, which again relate to the smallness of it, the smallness of bumping into. That's a chance we all have. That's a chance that occurs to us on a daily basis, and seizing the opportunity. And ultimately, a lot of the information about the boring, laborious work that goes into it after that, the arguments and whatever in the rock and roll world or in the film world or whichever world you're interested in, kind of don't really get as much focus. You know, the arguments might do, because that might set off and we know we're interested in that. What did they argue about? I can argue. But the day-to-day mundanity of doing the role, isn't glamorous, so it's not really featured. And we don't really know, because we could do that as well. Everything is an element of we could do that, but sometimes we think we don't necessarily want to do that. I just want to do the set up a channel. I can do that. I buy into it. I've set up my channel. And here's me. If I then went on to say, well, you need to do blah, 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 and it's really boring and you need to spend hours and hours and hours doing that, you go, well, I can't do that because it's not as easy. I don't want to hear that. I just want to know the fact that I've set up a channel. But yeah, my YouTube channel, I set up the channel. That was the easy bit. Uploading a video, quite easy. Learning from those videos, dealing with those videos, not so easy. And as you progress, you honestly want to try and get better. So you get more things involved. You get more technical with the cameras, the lighting. It's not easy. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put you off here, but I'm just trying to give you a warning that there is an ease. Things are easy. The decision is easy. The setting up is easy in this day and age. But the maintenance, the sustaining, the perseverance, that is where your success comes from. Not the ease of setting up. Going back to last week's podcast, the 20 ways. They're all easy, but have you got the stamina to persevere with them so that you can tell your story and then someone further down the line can go, I can do that. And that is, again, something that I'd encourage you to think about when you're telling your story, because ultimately it would be great if one of us, hopefully, God forbid, on this channel goes on and is mega successful and they've got an autobiography out. Hopefully you'd send me a copy, but I'd love to read in there how easy it was. And then I can go, I can do that. I can do what they did. And tell your story, because alongside, parallel to this idea of I can do that, what we like about our heroes, or the ones who inspire us, are the facts that their stories diverge from the norm. They take risks, they take opportunities, they follow things through, they don't do things which are normal, and that's what makes them unique, and that's what makes them interesting. I don't think, the best story in the world with the greatest person in the world is going to sell an autobiography on the fact that they're describing how they went to a job every day, 9 to 5. Even actors, let's say the greatest actors, they don't go into a lot of depth about day to day of being on a film set and sitting around for 10 hours waiting for the lighting guys to set up a shot. And then, you want to hear about the stories outside that. You want to hear about the little coincidences. You want to hear about the funny things that happened. That's what makes a story. That's what makes you, you. And the other thing I would say is, and this is a complete detour though, if you are looking to change career or find a job, focus in on the things that make you, you. And I've said this before, on a CV, just put some nuggets of stuff which are different than everyone else. Everyone else is putting the same down, excuse my language, day to day, blah, blah, blah. I've done this because this is the formularity. It's the little interesting nuggets about how you went to school in a different place, or how you did X, Y, Z, or how you did, that will get someone's attention in, hopefully. Although in this day and age, I think CVs are processed by computers, HR people who have no humanity, but that's another story. If you're applying to smaller companies, be different, but do something a little bit different. And I'm not talking about making CVs out of fluorescent paper or in a big box. That was a fad during the 90s. Don't do that. but just put some information which is different. Talk about, your successes. Not, I can do this, typical CD, I can do this, I can do that, I done that. Talk about some of the things you've done, some of the successes you've had at work, some of the achievements, but also talk about other stuff. That will draw people in because they also might think, I can do that, I do that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on I can do that, what can you do, what I can do that has inspired you to move down a path. For me, some of the things in my life, listening when I first encountered or was shown the work of Steve Reich at school, I think one of the things, apart from the realization that sound was music and music was sound, was an idea of, I can do that. I can write that kind of music. I can do it. And that's what's inspired me. Not the fact that I realized there's a whole lifetime of study behind it, but the nugget, that the inspiration was, I can do that. Love to hear your thoughts on the Facebook group. Please do subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. That would mean the world to me. It really helps me, inspires me to keep going, to know that you guys are out there listening. So please do go and click that massive subscribe button, and you will have my thanks forever. And all it's left for me to do is say have an awesome week, and I will catch you later.